I'd like to call the meeting of the Wayne County Commission to order. Madam Clerk, open the board for roll call, please.
The board is now open for roll call. You have a quorum present.
Thank you so much. If we could all now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Next item, please.
Invocation.
This morning, we're going to have our invocation by Commissioner Ilona Varga.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let's bow our heads. Dear God, thank you for waking us up this morning, bringing us safely to our place where we do the people's work. Thank you for the blessings you give us each and every day. We pray for the ones who are hurting, the hungry, the misunderstood, the mentally challenged, and those struggling to live another day. Today, I lift up in prayer those who lost loved ones, and may the memory sustain them in the coming days, months, and years. I pray for my husband and his family as Bill's brother was called home after a long illness. Dear God, more than ever, please show us wisdom in working in unity that will please you. Give us strength to do what we must, as our responsibility is great, and the trust people placed into our hands must always be in accord with your will. I ask to put your hands on those who come before the Wayne County Commission with an open mind that we must all work together, and if we must, disagree honorably, and to understand the meaning behind the oath of office elected officials take to uphold the Constitution of the state of Michigan and the Wayne County Charter. Dear God, protect us from speaking and doing what sounds good, but rather do what is right and just for all the people in Wayne County without exception. Bless our families, our friends, those gathered here with us today. Let us strive to forgive those who stand in our way just because they can. Help us keep our ego in check so we may serve the people of Wayne County as their unselfish servants. God, we understand that we have been given this day, this moment. As I always say, it's a present. We thank you. Let us strive to live it so when our days here are done, we can say to each of us, you can say to each of us, well done, my child. Well done. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Good prayer. Very good. Thank you. Next item,
Reading, correcting, and approval of the journal.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware.
Move approval.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Report from the chair.
Couple of items today. Just want to thank everyone again for coming out. This is our Black History Month program, so we're in for a treat later on this morning. I'd like to introduce a few people in the audience that I have with me today. My son and daughter, Cranston Young and Morgan Young, over here in the corner. Stand up, guys. They're off for school this week and not very happy to be here. And of course, my husband, Cranston Young, and my mother, Edna Bell, are in the audience as well. Stand up. And then Commissioner Baydoun has a special guest he'd like to introduce as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It gives me a great honor to introduce the mayor of the great city of Allen Park, Mrs. Gail McLeod. Would you please stand up? Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for being here today. Next item, please.
Unfinished business, there is none listed. We are moving to offering of all petitions, ordinances, resolutions, and presentations. There is one item listed, a Black History Month presentation.
Thank you so much. As Commissioner Irma Clark Coleman comes to the podium, I would ask that everyone look around the chambers today. You will see on the columns different people who represent Black history in Wayne County. We have our very own Jewel Ware. She was the first Black woman to be the chair of the Wayne County Commission after the 27. So she is certainly a part of Wayne County history, and she's still with us today, and we're so proud of that. But you'll look around and you'll see all types of people who are being recognized, who have been recognized for the service that they've done for Wayne County. So before you leave, if you get an opportunity, please read the accomplishments of those great people. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Irma Clark Coleman for our presentation for this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Alicia Bell. And welcome and good morning. You know, we're often asked in the Black community, we're asked the question, what is Black history and why is it celebrated? Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing the central role of Blacks in U.S. history. Quote, knowing the past opens the door to the future, end of quotes. No one has played a greater role in helping our Americans, all Americans, know the Black past than Carter G. Woodson, the individual who created Negro History Week in Washington, D.C. in February 1926, which became Black History Month in 1976. Carter G. Woodson was the second Black American to receive a PhD in history from Harvard University following W.E.B. Du Bois by a few years. Woodson believed his role was to use Black history and culture as a weapon in the struggle for racial uplift. The great diversity within the Black community needed the glue of the African American past to remind us not just how far we travel, but how far there is to go. Education is key to this effort, and we in Detroit owe a debt of gratitude to one of our past Wayne County commissioners, Kwame Kenyatta. I served with Kwame on the school board in the 90s and saw him take on book publishers for their omission of African American contributions in textbooks at the Detroit Public Schools. To convince them, the book publishers, of the importance of inclusion, the board held up a multi-million-dollar new book contract and worked with the publishers to include the contributions of Blacks in Detroit history textbooks. Many other cities adopted these same books and benefited from our actions. Kwame Kenyatta passed away last year. I would also like to recognize another former commissioner, Jared Simmons, who served as the first African-American woman to chair the commission. Commissioner Martha G. Scott and I were longtime friends of Jared and recalled her determination and inspiring rise from switchboard operator at the Wayne County Road Commission to chair the then 27-member County Board of Supervisors in 1978. She passed away December 2nd, 2018, at the tender age of 90. So at this time, I would like to ask everyone to stand for the Black National Anthem and a video production that my talented executive assistant did to commemorate this occasion. So, Shannon Guyton.
Lift every voice and sing to earth, heaven. should resound out as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. March on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn has died, yet with a steady beat and not our weary feet come to the place from which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughter, out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, like gleam upon my star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met Thee. Lest our hearts, drunk of the wine of the world, we forget Thee. Shadowed beneath Thy hand, may we forever stand. True to our God, true to our God, true to our native land, true to our native land.
Thank you, students. It's always wonderful to see our talented and intelligent children out performing and doing wonderful things. So we are so thankful that they were able to come this morning. It's always a pleasure to see Commissioner Bernard Parker. Thank you so much, Bernard, for being with us and to bringing your students here. Much success to the Barack Obama Academy. Thank you so much. And Irma Clark Coleman, you have closing remarks? Yes. Wasn't this a wonderful program? Let's give Commissioner Clark another round of applause as you come to the podium.
Thank you. It's everything that I could have wanted. The kids did, the boys and girls did an outstanding job. I'm so proud of you and everyone else who took part in it. Bernard always takes care of business. I wasn't even concerned about him. He did. He always does a fantastic job. And you know what? We love you still, Bernard. Even though you left us, we still love you. So, and I would once again like to thank Shannon Guyton for researching and putting together that wonderful presentation. And last but not least, I was asked about my outfit. My husband and I visited Ghana, and the people there are just so talented. They came to the tailors or dressmakers or whatever. They came to our hotel that morning and took my measurements, took my husband's measurements. I think I ordered about 3 or 4 garments. Would you believe that that afternoon they came with the outfits all prepared? That's how talented they are. So if you ever get a chance to visit, make sure you contact those dressmakers and have them. They do tailored suits. They do them in a couple of days. They can do a tailored suit in 2 days. And so they'll come and take your measurements, and then they'll deliver that merchandise within a day or so. So thank you very much for allowing me to chair this event. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Commissioner Clark Coleman. This was an excellent program. Thank you so much. And we even have program booklets for our souvenirs. So thank you. That was excellent. We appreciate all your hard work and dedication you and your staff put into this. Thank you. Now we got to go back to work. So, all right. Next item on the agenda, please.
We're on page 2, reports from committees. Report A is from the Committee on Public Services. There are 16 items listed on pages 2 through 5 of the agenda.
Okay, Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move approval of items 1 through 16.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the Committee on Public Services report? Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a quick question on item 14. I see we're getting a grant for trees. Is that strictly going to be for parks, or are any of those trees also going to be available along county roads? I know we've been struggling for grants for trees for quite some time, but.
Good morning. Through the chair, Commissioner Killeen, it is just for parks at this point in time. Our team applied for a forestry grant from the State of Michigan Department of Natural Resources so we will be doing the inventory within strictly our park system at this point in time.
Okay, and I think it's been 3 or 4 years since we've had grants to go into our medians and replace trees along our roads. I don't know if your parks, I know, but okay, just the parks here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions, Commissioner Scott? Director, microphone, Commissioner.
Thank you. The medium on Outer Drive on the east side, starting like about Conant and going around, there is a lot of activity there. And I'm just wondering what they're doing.
I'm sorry. Through the chair, we would have to relay that over to Director Watts. That may be related to roads as well. And I don't know if the roads team can speak to that at this point in time, but we can relay the inquiry to Roads Division in order to get back with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like he can tell.
We'll get back with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I have a quick answer for Commissioner Scott because we share Outer Drive over there. Yeah, the Detroit Water and Sewage is replacing some lines all along Outer Drive. We've got a mess over in our area as well. But yeah, Detroit Water and Sewage is out doing
Oh,
work.
that's the water, okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a clarification on the trees and the median. Is there any way that we can pursue that, or is that being pursued?
Through the chair, Commissioner Baker McCormick, again, that is Roads Division. And so if someone from Road Divisions can speak to it, or we can relay it over to Director Watts. But I'm sure they would probably have some inquiry relative to that. And Mr. Shea is coming up now, the Deputy Director. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would have to investigate that, and I can report back on that issue as well.
Okay.
Name and title for the record, please.
Steve Shea, Deputy Director of Roads.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion on the public services report? Additional discussion on public services? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item.
We are on Report B from the Committee on Ways and Means. There are 9 items listed on pages 5 through 7 of the agenda.
Commissioner Varga.
Thank you. I move the entire committee report.
Approval.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions, discussion? Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On item number 7, dealing with the Lincoln Hall of Justice, we have, let's just say we have significant building issues over there. This is for a vacuum pump. Is this part of a larger plan to bring that building up to speed? And if there is a larger plan for what we want to do going forward with that building, have you or could you share that with the commission?
Good morning, everyone. Interim Director of the Economic Development Department of Building Planning and Strategy. My name is Darrell Jones. Yes, Commissioner Clean, we can explain that to you. The system is basically replacing, in layman's terms, a circulated pump that went out that develops, goes through a heat exchanger and it heats the building. So it's a temporary repair. Obviously, we'll be closing the building in a few years, and basically that's what it's to make sure that everything is heated while we're in that building.
Yeah, and like in my question, thank you, sir. Like in my question, there are a number of building issues over
Yes,
there.
sir. Yes, sir.
Is this part of a longer-term plan? Are we planning on, because this is kind of a stopgap, if I can say it that way, are we going to be buying new HVAC stuff for that building? Is there an overall building plan for bringing that building to where our employees and the judges and the folks that come to that building actually want to go there?
I understand your question. The pump will be replaced, is being replaced now. It is my expectation to survive the length of the building. So as long as we're in that building, it's a complete plan to make sure that the heating is in that building, not just for temporary use, but for the existing of the building.
So if the department does have like an overall plan for that building,
No
what's
other
coming
plans
next?
no other plans at this moment.
Okay.
We're just making sure maintaining the system.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Item number 6, certifying revenue from the Michigan Marijuana Operation Oversight Grant. I don't know if there's someone from Public Health that can discuss this.
Kelly Rao, Budget Director.
Hi, Kelly, how are you? This is revenue that we anticipate receiving from the oversight grant, and we're going to spend it on personnel. And that personnel and pension services contractual will be in what department?
That's under HHVS.
It is under Health and Human Services.
Yes, it is.
And do you know exactly what they'll be doing with those funds, personnel to do
I
what?
do not know. I know that they're, I imagine it's an oversight of the grant. The majority of it is contractual services in order to educate the community regarding the medical marijuana.
Yeah, so the sole purpose of the grant is for educational purposes?
I believe so.
Okay, I'll speak to someone
can-
in HSS. Or someone look
I
at
can
that.
get more information back to you, but based on our Ways and Means Committee, Kamal Kaparu stated it was educational purposes.
Okay, have a young lady coming.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nellie Lee, HHVS Policy and Compliance Director. This grant is for educational purposes. It'll be used with a subcontractor delivering public services via billboards, short TV commercials and whatnot. Mostly they are to educate the medical marijuana use. And the
Go further with that, if you could keep the commissioners involved and informed on that, just so we can know if there's anything that we can do in our respective districts to assist in that?
Absolutely. We are working with our executive communications to deliver these messages via social media and our website, and we'll be sure to loop in the commissioners as well. And as to the questions regarding the personnel to be hired for the oversight of this grant, it is to work with our vendor and to manage the services and manage the content that will be released.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions on the Ways and Means report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item.
We are on Report C from the Committee on Health and Human Services. There are 2 items listed on pages 7 and 8 of the agenda.
Commissioner Khalil.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and the committee recommends those 2 items for approval, so I move them.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Commissioner Khalil.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 2 on there with the Michigan State University Co-op Extension. Co-op Extension is mentioned in the county charter as a partner that we have. This amendment brings our contribution to $677,000 from the county to that. Co-op Extension provides a wide range of services for the citizens of Wayne County. Mr. Wooten is here. I've asked him briefly just to describe what this $50,000 to provide community wellness programs to Wayne County citizens. Just, if you would, sir, just a brief description of what these services are doing for Wayne County folks.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Wooten.
My name is Richard Wooten. I'm the district director for Michigan State University, and I cover all things for extension in Wayne County. The additional funding will do 2 things for us. The first thing it'll do, it will allow us to continue to support the programming that we provide in the county. We have 38 staff in 2 different facilities, and we reach about 60,000 residents a year with our programming. And we do everything from natural resources development to youth development to gardening to nutrition education to social emotional wellness well, just a wide variety of programming. And I'm going to provide a full report to the commission in April because that's when our report comes out. So the funds will allow us to continue to provide that programming. And also the funds will allow us to develop a new relationship with the Wayne County Soil Conservation District. They do natural resources activities, and we do them as well. And we see this as a tremendous opportunity to collaborate. We would like to look at opportunities that will allow them to be more sustainable as an organization by pursuing joint funding opportunities. But we also see this as an opportunity for our organization to benefit by providing some of the services they provide to our clientele in the county. So those dollars will help us to do both of those functions.
Thank you so much for coming out and giving us that explanation. Any questions for Mr. Wooten or on the report? Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you. Mr. Wooten, would you provide us, say after a year, how that's working out with the Soil Conservation District and the structure, and maybe you could even provide that of that organization, because I understand there were some changes that had to take place, and I'd just like to see if this is going to be a continuing program, that we see the effectiveness of that program.
Yes, we will. The way the process is set up, they will provide programs in collaboration with us. There's documentation that they've got to provide because it's a reimbursement system. So it's not a system where we'll provide any funds up front. They will provide the programs, they'll do the activities, then they'll submit the forms for reimbursement. We then will generate a report. We provide reports to the county on all the programs that we provide. So this will become a program that we'll provide information on as well. Also, I do want to say what we're moving toward for the commission. We're moving to a system where we're going to provide district-based support program reports for you starting next year. The university is going to a system that will allow us to do that. So every year, before you get your annual reports, you'll get a district support. And it will have all the detail of all the programs that we provided in your districts. So if there are gaps that you see that are part of the collection of programs that we provide that are not in your district, you have an opportunity for us to have a conversation about how we can bring those programs to your district. This year, we're trying to meet with the commissioners. We can provide you with a list of program activities that occurred in your district for 2019. So what you're going to see within the next few weeks is you're going to see a list of the program activities. But next year, you're going to see the full detail. You're going to see the partners that we've worked with. You're going to see the programs that we provided. And we're going to even try to provide you with the number of participants that participate in those programs in your district. Because we believe now we have a system that will allow us to do that. So this is a way for us to be more accountable for the support that you provided to the university and to Extension.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Wooten, it might be beneficial to all the commissioners to explain, like you did at the committee, that we can schedule anything in our district with any of these topics, and people will come out, correct?
Absolutely. We provide an annual report every year. You've got the one from last year. The new one will be out in March and April. It will be a summary of all the programs that we provide on an annual basis. But again, as you review those reports, and all of you have my information, and I'm more than willing to meet with you. If you identify programs that you want to have in your district and you have partners you would like for us to work with, all you've got to do is give me a call. We will reach out to those partners. We will have the conversations. We will move forward with the relationships. And also, let me just say this, in terms of youth development, we reach about 22,000 kids a year in youth development. We can reach more kids if we can identify volunteers that are willing to work with kids on an ongoing basis, whether that's in a community center, whether that's in a church, whether that's in a school. So if you have partners in your district that are looking to expand their youth development programs, we do everything from robotics to leadership to natural resources for kids, even nutrition. We've had amazing examples where kids come in and they talk about the changes they've made in their lives because of the education they got in nutrition. Because we know if you know more, you can do more. So all you've got to do is reach out to me. We can have those conversations. We can work with any partners you're willing for us to work with in your district to make programs happen for Extension. Remember, we've been around in the county, surprisingly, people may not know this, but we've been around since 1917. We've been around for a very long time. So if you've got the programs, you want us to expand those relationships, just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten, and all the important work that you do throughout Wayne County. The extensive relationship that we've had for the 50 years has been great for our residents, and we'll continue that relationship. And remember, commissioners, if you'd like to have a program specific in your district, Mr. Wooten is more than willing and able to assist you with that. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Any additional discussion on the report? Commissioner Varga.
I just wanted to let commissioners know that now that the contract is going to be awarded, they can now start working on the issues that we had in, that we funded in Ways and Means. So the reason they have not been working so far, the Conservation District, because the contract has not been approved by the commission. So they're going to ramp up the activities so that way they can hopefully give the services that they can then be reimbursed. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no further discussion, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
We're on Report D from the Committee on Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security. There are 4 items listed.
Commissioner Clark Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of item 2 and 3 and receive and file items 1 and 4.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security report? Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item, please.
We're on Report E from the Committee on Government Operations. There are 7 items listed on pages 8 through 10 of the agenda.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
The Committee on Government Operations been moved and supported. Any discussion on the items on that report? Any discussion? Commissioner Killeen?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to make one comment. In the report, is the approval of a collective bargaining agreement. And I know we've had some recent changes in state law, but it hit me right in the face when I saw it written here. Among other changes to this CBA, employees can opt out of paying union dues with written notice to Local 324 and the Department of Human Services. It was just jarring to see that written. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I agree. Thank you. Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I voted no on item 5 in committee because it was retroactive, and I want to be consistent, so I'll be voting no on item 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Duly noted. Further discussion on the government operations report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item, please.
We are on page 11 of the agenda, upcoming committee and task force meetings.
Okay, please note the meetings to be held on next week. If there are any changes, please alert the clerk. Commissioner Clark-Holman.
Yes, the Committee on Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security for Wednesday, the 26th, has been postponed.
Okay. Okay, and the clerk will send out a notice to that effect.
Yes.
Any other changes to note now? If not, please let the clerk know. Next item.
Public comments.
Is there anyone from the audience who would like to address the Wayne County Commission? Anyone in the public who would like to address the Wayne County Commission? Next item, please.
We are on new business. There are 3 items listed on your addenda. Item number 1 is requesting commission approval of a 3-year contract with a 1-year option to renew between the Charter County of Wayne and HNTB Michigan.
Thank you. Yep. Is there someone from the administration who can speak to this item? Good morning.
Good morning.
If you could give a synopsis on this item and why it did not go to committee?
Yes, so basically, this project is associated with the Groseal Free Bridge, I guess, for lack of a better word, but it's the movable bridge. And this contract is to secure the services of a consultant, HNTB, to do the CE services. Essentially, the nature of this project is that it involves structural steel, and the lead time for the fabrication of the structural steel is 8 to 10 weeks. And so we want to keep this project on track to start in May of this year. So we're asking for approval now so that we can get HNTB on board so that the fabrication can start.
And if you could please give us your name and title for the record.
Yeah, Elizabeth Taylor. I'm a department administrator with DPS Engineering.
Okay.
Move approval.
Support.
Discussion, Commissioner Basham?
Yeah, and I support getting this done like yesterday also, but still, extent approval is the way to, you know, if it comes in front of us and we get to vote on it rather than being retroactive, because I'm sort of an opponent. So it's hard for me to vote against Elizabeth Taylor, so I'll reluctantly support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Further discussion on this item? Hearing none, please vote. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. My thing won't work. My thing won't work. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 2 is requesting commission approval of an underground easement agreement with DTE Electric Company.
Someone for the administration like to come speak to this and the urgency of it?
Good morning, James Heath, Corporation Counsel.
Good morning. If you could speak briefly on this item, please.
Absolutely, and I'd like to thank Madam Chair, Commissioner Anderson, who leads the CJC Committee, as well as Commission staff and the entire Commission for taking this up under immediate consideration. You will remember over the summer when you approved the contracts for the CUP, the Central Utility Plant, with DTE Electric, and by that, the regulated utility, not to be confused with DTE Energy Services, the construction firm building the actual CUP, that they would be running lines, conduit duct bank, to our central utility plant so that they could power the lines that will in fact power the entire facility. They have been doing all of the work that they could be doing up until this point. Now, next week, they would like to enter the county property itself to run those lines to the central utility plant. There'll be 2 electrical cabinets near the central utility plant that they're gonna have to run conduit to. The easement agreement before you today will allow them access to our property so that they can not only run those lines, but then service those lines over the course of the life of the central utility plant, indeed the life of the entire CJC facility. They have an August 4th deadline for when they need to have completed that work. They have told us that they'd like to begin in March prior to our next commission meeting. So it's imperative that we got this agreement to you today so that hopefully you will approve it after consideration so that we can get the document to them and they can enter the property.
Is there any money for this contract?
No, ma'am.
This is just allow access to
This just will
DTE to
allow
do their
access.
work.
And they'll be coming up the Chrysler Service Drive and then going about almost 60 feet onto our property. And so this agreement just allows them the right to do that. There will be, you'll recall that there are 2 lines. We have a primary line and then a redundant secondary line. They will be starting construction later on in the construction season. On that secondary line, we will be bringing before this body again another easement which will allow them to run that. But this one here today is just for that first primary line. The reason why we you only had 2 days or a day or so actually to review this is we were just able to get the drawings from Giffords Webster, who performed that work for us, and we were able to get the agreement from DTE just yesterday morning, and so we forwarded it to you as quickly as we had it, so I appreciate your consideration.
Okay. Any discussion, Commissioner Haydes?
You know, with the easement, the most difficult issue sometime when they do the work and disturb the landscape or the grass or anything, take long time to come back and fix it. The citizen complained because they didn't want the summer pass by and their whatever easement it is, front of commercial or residential, take all summer to be fixed. Is that issue been addressed with them?
Well, we're lucky in this sense, we're just talking about a construction site right now, and so there's nothing there that they would be disturbing. Although we will refrain from doing any sort of extravagant landscaping or anything in that area because we do want the utility to have continued access to the electrical cabinets if they would need to repair or do some sort of work. You know, this is for the adult detention facility, the juvenile detention facility. This is a 24-hour, 365-day operation. And so we would not want to do anything from an improvement standpoint that would limit the utility's ability to get to those conduit if something were to go wrong.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank Mr. Heath. We spoke on the phone last night. The questions that I had as to whether or not, one of them was, is it going to cost us any additional money that might be as a result of this coming across the property? He indicated no, also that it is a buried line. It's not above ground, so there's not any issue of it affecting any of the building, and there is no need to make any changes to the plans because of this. But I wanted to thank him for giving me a call last night. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So clarification on the insurance clause that it indicates that DTE didn't give us an option. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. So you'll recall, I believe, from the summer when we had, I think there were 4 or 5 DTE agreements that the commission passed. And these are pretty much form agreements that the utility requires its customers, whether commercial or residential, to sign. And when we look back at our prior easement agreements that we've had with utilities, there had never been a separate insurance or separate indemnification clause that we had with them, at least the ones that we were able to find, save one, and that was the county providing added protections to the utility to protect them in the event of some sort of damage. And so the reality is that there was not much negotiation with the utility in terms of our ability to change the form agreement that they have with respect to easements such as this. As well, the contract which the commission passed back over the summer spoke to, and I think that's in the answer that you have before you as well, spoke to the liability or lack of liability that the grantee, DTE Electric, would accept with respect to that agreement and then future agreements which come from that. So.
Okay. And so for our council, can you elaborate a little bit on this issue with the insurance clause?
Through the chair, so I found that their response to the question was adequate. As indicated, over the summer, one of the agreements indicated the DTE will essentially accept no liability, and I believe that addressed the issue.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? This is in Commissioner Ware's district, Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware.
Move approval.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion? Let me just thank the staff for turning this over so quickly because we did get it rather late and they were able to go through and get questions put out and answered. So thank our staff for that as well.
I'd like to co-sign that, Madam Chair.
I'm sure you do, Mr. Heath. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Thank you.
My button doesn't work. I have a button problem. Okay.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 3 is requesting commission approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the Charter County of Wayne and the City of Grosse Pointe Farms.
Commissioner Killeen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. And as with the other items, I really want to thank our staff as well as Corporation Counsel for working so diligently to get this here. This is a timeliness issue for me. Out along Lake St. Clair, the county has Lakeshore Drive, about 2.5 miles worth, and a seawall. And since that seawall has been steadily deteriorating, and I've been looking for ways for the 13 years that I've been here, and it's also a very expensive item. So where we are today is this is an agreement with our local partners out there that we're going to split the cost of doing a study that will allow us to get to a dollar figure for what is needed. I have both the U.S. Senators and our Congresswoman engaged on this. In fact, I'm going out there at 3 o'clock today. Senator Peters, Chief of Staff, is in from Washington and wants to take a firsthand look at this. It imperils our road. In some places, it's within 15, 20 feet of our road out there. There's numerous cracks in the wall. The record high lake levels are accelerating the deterioration of that wall. I received a call last summer. Well, it washes out the sediment, then you have voids in behind the wall, and certainly winter won't help. I received a call from Grosse Pointe Shores Public Service last summer. Hey, Commissioner, the fish are on the wrong side of the wall. So we have real serious issues. This is our chance to hopefully resolve some of this. We will need the federal help. And thank you, Madam Chair. I've talked to you. I don't want to, I want to keep moving on this. We have everybody engaged, don't want to slow anything down. The local communities out there have approved this. We're the last step along the way to approve this IGA or MOU or whatever we're calling it. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll move it for approval.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there support? Support. Moved and supported. Thank you, Commissioner Killeen, for your leadership on this issue. You've been there every step of the way to get this resolved, so thank you for that. Commissioner Anderson.
Madam Chair, I just had a follow-up question on that. I wonder if someone from the administration could give us a report on how many other potential problems we're going to be experiencing with shoreline that would be Wayne County's responsibility. Also, is this Wayne County's responsibility? And if it is, I'd certainly, I mean, we're looking at unprecedented times, I think, with shoreline erosion because of water levels increasing. We hear about it every day, that this is happening all over the state. So I'd just like to get an idea of what this is going to cost Wayne County in the long term. And I think this step might be the first indication of what that might be. But if we have something, I see the gentleman's here, I'll stop talking and listen.
Good morning, Jim Jernigan, Assistant Corporation Counsel. I think the IGA is characterized properly as a first step in making a determination. I have spoken with the other principal for Grosse Pointe Farms on this. The expectation is that at the end of this study, there will be some cost parameters in terms of whether the wall needs to be repaired and replaced, whether there are going to be natural restoration of certain areas along this three-mile stretch, and depending on what type of fix is appropriate for the particular area will certainly dictate the cost involved. But at this point, there's been no long-term determination as to cost.
Just follow up. And at this point, we've given no indication that Wayne County is going to expend any dollars beyond the study, correct?
Correct.
Because I know downriver, there's lots of areas too that are experiencing problems all the way down to the end of the county line along Lake Erie and other areas that are continuously having problems. And I just want to make sure that we have a good picture of what the long-term implication is for us financially.
Well, that remains to be seen, but this IGA does not deal with anything beyond the scope of this particular study.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Basham.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Ben's Commissioner Anderson opened up the door a little bit about Wayne County's responsibilities. Wayne County owns the Elizabeth Park where they keep the Marine Patrol, where the dock is falling in, where those sheriffs that go out there and take their diving gear and get on a boat standing on 2 pallets and water up over their knees to get in a boat to go pull bodies out of Detroit River. It's pathetic. We talk about, I know the governor says, fix the damn roads. We need to fix the damn marina for the Marine Patrol so they can go do the people's work. And this is not like a park issue. This is some serious stuff. The potential lawsuits there alone, the potential everything is really bad. We own it. We need to fix it. They've done the engineering. We need to do whatever it takes to get that dock fixed, which was actually the original dock was made of wood. So, and that is right on the shoreline. And it's a shame. And commissioners should go down there and look at it. It's that bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And kind of in response to Commissioner Anderson's question, the reason the county is involved here is because the County Road Commission built this seawall back in like 32 or something. With the exception of perhaps Elizabeth Park, I know of no other county right at the shoreline because we have, Commissioner Basham will correct me in a moment, but because we have the road right along there, I don't know if we have county road anywhere else, certainly shorelines all over the place. The governor, I think, is recommending some $400 million statewide in our coming budget to deal with some of those shoreline issues. But I think outside of Elizabeth Park and the correction I'm going to get from Commissioner Basham here in a minute, that there is little, if no other county shoreline that we're involved in. Maybe local communities, maybe the state, or private ownership, but not the county as far as I understand. I'll wait for the correction.
Commissioner Basham.
And I'll do that. Madam Chair, there's a township by the name of Brownstown that goes right to Lake Erie. County roads, townships don't have city streets, they have county roads. They go right to Lake Erie. They are downriver. We'd welcome our colleagues to come down and visit Brownstown. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll accept that invitation. Commissioner Hayes. Microphone, sir.
On Belleville Lake, we have the road on the edge of the lake, and there no seawall, but the erosion getting worse every year. So I want to put that on the table today because I've been talking with Mrs. Watts, and probably we're going to take a tour as soon as the weather allow around the lake to check that. But long as the state putting some money on the table for the shoreline, I like to have the administration's attention to that area on Belleville Lake. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you're talking to Director Watts because these are public services issues that we need to see how we can fund them either through our budgeting process or state grants or federal grants. So thank you for bringing up all those important issues because it's going to hit us, especially with the seawall, the sea levels rising, and it's just in the age of all the infrastructure. Commissioner Killeen, final comment?
Yeah, just short, Madam Chair. I neglected to mention that myself and Corporation Counsel were under other matters at the last Public Services Committee where we had a nice discussion. We knew this was probably going to be ready to come up on new business, but we had a nice discussion with Public Service Committee about this item.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item, please.
We will return to the agenda. We are on item B, testimonial resolutions and certificates of appreciation. There are 25 items listed on pages 11 through 13 of the agenda.
Move approval.
Moved and supported for the testimonial resolutions and certificates of appreciation. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item.
We are on page 14 of the agenda, memoriams. There are no names listed.
Are there any names to be added? Commissioner Baidoon and Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to add Peter Blom. He's a Dearborn resident who passed away this week. I extend my condolences to his wife, Margaret. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to add the name of Richard McKnight. Those of you from Western Wayne County, and I noticed Alan over there, maybe he knows him, Richard McKnight. Dick McKnight was a longtime activist and attorney, well-known in Wayne County. His wife was the former judge of the 18th District Court, Gail McKnight. He passed away from, I believe, complications from Parkinson's. He's been battling with that for years, but just wanted to extend my condolences to the family and known them for many, many years, probably 30 plus years. So wanted to add his name. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to add Mrs. Annie J. Butler, who was very active in the CLUE Coalition of Labor Union Women. She was there at the beginning and is a very active member of the 11th Precinct in Detroit.
Thank you.
In fact, her funeral is this weekend. Her viewing is tomorrow on Hunt Street. Let me see. And the funeral is Saturday. And, let me see, thought I had the address, but I don't.
So the funeral is at St. Paul AME
Yeah,
on
that's it.
Hunt
The
and Shane,
funeral and the viewing.
Viewing.
a half a block off of East Vernon.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Any additional names to be added? Hearing none, please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. Next item,
Reconsiderations,
hearing none. Next item,
remarks by members.
any remarks by members? Commissioner Baydun?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yesterday, I took a one-day trip to Washington, D.C., along with Beverly Watts, Director of DPS, and Andy Conrivas, Assistant to the Wayne County Executive. We met with a committee in the Department of Transportation. Obviously, the topic of discussion is Miller Bridge. We also had with us the consultant from HNTB and the manager of government relation at Ford Motor Company in Washington, D.C. We made a powerful presentation on the potential severe impact, economic impact on the rail system, Ford Motor Company, and more importantly, on the thousands of residents that live in the south end of Dearborn in the event the Miller Bridge is to shut down for safety reasons. We also met with the staff at Senator Peters and Senator Stabenow and Congresswoman Dingell. Obviously, they are all supporting our application for the infra grant. I want to thank the administration for making the Miller Bridge a top priority, and I would like to thank Beverly Watts and Andy Conrivas. It was a great and successful trip to Washington, D.C. From my perspective. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much for your leadership in that, going to DC and talking to our congressional delegation and the Department of Transportation is very important so that they know we are here and we need their assistance. So to have that FaceTime, we appreciate you going on behalf of your direct district, but all citizens of Wayne County. So thank you, Sam, for that. Any remarks by members? Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If a person is driving on a freeway and they call 911, the state police pick up. Regardless of what city you're in, the state police pick up. If people are doing donuts on a freeway, it's not only a local issue, but it's also a county issue, and it's also a state issue. So it really appalled me to hear the comments from Chief Craig trying to negotiate with people that were breaking the law, number one, doing donuts, endangering other people's lives on a freeway, not on a city street, which it's a break in the law even if it's on a city street. The role of a police officer or a police chief is to enforce the law. The legislative body is supposed to make the laws, like the Detroit City Council, Wayne County Commission, State Senate, State House, Congress, Senate. Chief Craig, for him to go on a TV show, and the reporter even asked, they had a couple of the guys that were involved in that on the program, and they said, but you're breaking the law. Why would you even do that? And he says, because I have a passion for it. And Craig never addressed that. It's like, so if you have a passion for robbing houses or those sorts of things, it's against the law. Chief Craig should have jumped on that also. And I can appreciate the fact that he wants to find a place, and he's got to deal with insurance and all sorts of other issues, for those people that are currently breaking the law to go run their vehicles. But for him to comment about a state freeway and to act like he's going to negotiate with people that are actually breaking the law, it really, it says something about him not understanding the roles of government like we have in a national government. I mean, we have a president and we have a Congress and a Senate. People have different roles, And I would just ask that those people that are in those roles as police chief should understand what his role truly is. And I'm really a little bit upset with Chief Craig, but you couldn't tell that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Marecki.
Madam Chair, on behalf of all of us, I'm sure, happy birthday tomorrow.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner. I'm 21 again tomorrow. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, thank you. Commissioner Vice Chair Palomero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to thank Commissioner Clark Coleman and your committee for the outstanding Black History Month presentation today. I thought the audio-visual was moving. The performance by Barack Obama Leadership Academy was inspiring. And I saw some of those visuals up on the screen, and it reminds me of somebody that we all know, and now's as good a time as any to say happy 80th birthday to Gregory Eaton. Now, Gregory Eaton, if you don't know him, and most of you do, is a real-life, modern-day Forrest Gump. 56 years ago, in 1964, Gregory Eaton's roommate, where he was in training camp to watch Cassius Clay train before he was Muhammad Ali, was Malcolm X. And they had to stay in the Hampshire House Hotel because that's the only place that blacks could stay. And after they'd go to training in the morning, Malcolm X and Gregory would ride in the back seat of Cassius Clay's Lincoln convertible until they got close to the fight. And the closer they got to the fight, there was no more room in the back of that convertible. They had to follow them because there was too many beautiful women in the back of that convertible as they got closer to the fight, and Clay got more popular. In 1968, and we saw the signs today of Tommy Lee Smith and John Carlos, Gregory Eaton was in Mexico City. And it was Gregory Eaton that had to drive the gold medal winner's wife to the airport to escape the death threats. In the 1970s, Gregory Eaton was the leading lobbyist to help secure passage of the Elliott-Larsen Civil Rights Act. In the 1980s, he stood up in Magic Johnson's wedding. In the 1990s, he was in the front row of the East Room of the White House when President Clinton presented Rosa Parks her Congressional Medal of Honor. And this month, Gregory was featured in People magazine as being one of the only 3 people that have attended every single Super Bowl live, and the only African American that's in that group of 3 people. Gregory would be here today, but he's celebrating his 80th birthday down with his best friend, where they have condos in Florida. His best friend is Richard Whitmer, who turned 80 on Valentine's Day. So happy birthday to Dick Whitmer and Gregory Eaton, and congratulations, and thank you for a wonderful life.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. It's always wonderful when we have our real-life heroes right here that we can touch and talk to. And so thank you for that. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, too, want to wish Gregory a happy birthday, and thank you for that chronological history, because I, too, lived it. And so it was, I want to thank Irma for bringing this to us today, and certainly her staff person, Shannon, for putting all that together. It was a little sad, so a few tears did flow, because when you have lived it, you know. But I want to thank each and every one of them, because I would not have a story to tell if it had not been for them. I became the first Black woman elected mayor of a major city in the state of Michigan.
Yes, yes.
So I am grateful, and when I saw Shirley Chisholm there, she was my idol. I got into politics simply because she was running for president of the United States. Yes. And a friend of mine came by my house and said, "We need you to be a precinct delegate." I said, "Not me." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because politics is dirty." She said, "Then you get in there and clean it up then." She said, "If Shirley Chisholm can run for president of the United States, you can certainly be a precinct delegate." Because she was my idol, and so was Barbara Jordan. Yes. So I thank all of my ancestors and all of those, because they paved the way for each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Scott, you are certainly a living legend right here among us. So we thank you for your years of service on every level of government right here in Michigan. So thank you. Let's give our own living legend a round of applause. Martha G. Scott. Commissioner Anderson.
I'm really, I can't really add very much to what our Commissioner Palomero has said about Greg Eaton, but I got to know Greg Eaton back around 2001, I think, and he's just been really an inspiration to so many people, and he's also tried to help young people. I believe he does scholarships for young people. He gives so much back. I remember one time, I used to always admire behind his office the vehicles he would drive, and I believe he had a Bentley sitting in the back of the building, and I complimented him on the Bentley. He said, "You want to drive it sometime?" Well, I never took him up on that, but he's such a giving person that, and to where he came from, it's just a marvelous story. Last year, I believe it was the Free Press did a lengthy article on him, and I passed that along to a young college student out at Albion College that lives in my district. And as he's getting started in his life, he just graduated from Albion College, and I wanted him to see. And actually, I was at that NAACP dinner last year or year before, and Gregory was there, and I sent him a text message, which he answered, and he came over to our table and met the young man, and so he got to see the person that this article was written about, and this great person of history. But anyway, it's great that you recognized him. I didn't realize it was his birthday, but I'll be sending him one of the probably hundreds or thousands he'll be getting a text message.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Baidoon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I would like to recognize and thank my colleague, Commissioner Irma Clark-Coleman, for this beautiful presentation today. Thank you for honoring the Black Americans, African American Month here in the United States. This was great. Thank you. And I also want to make it on the record that this is the first full board meeting for our colleague David Kanizik, yes. And I appreciate your silent eloquence today.
Thank you. He's learning. He'll be fine. Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Baker McCormick.
And I too would like to thank Commissioner Clark-Coleman for the Black History Month presentation. We know the importance of the contributions of African Americans throughout the history of the United States, and we really, the presentation hit home, and so thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. It was beautiful, beautiful. Commissioner Haydos, then Commissioner Varga.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is a wonderful day when we remember the persons who make a difference in our lives. But to me, I want to thank Commissioner Clark-Coleman too. I have a special feeling today with the team that play the African drum, because I lived 11 years in Africa, and I loved the culture and the entertainment, the way they do it in West Africa, and the clothing today bring a lot of memory today. To me, in Senegal Republic, they call what they play today in the African language, the khalam khalam. So, and I was sitting here in memory, play in my mind. I enjoy every second. Thank you. This is Clark-Coleman.
Thank you.
It was a great day.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Varga.
Thank you. Joey, I knew him as well. I want to highlight just one person that many of you probably have known. younger people probably don't know about him as much. His name was Matthew McNeely. He was the first African-American Speaker Pro Tem of the Michigan House of Representatives. Had it not been for Matt McNeely, I would not be sitting here today. I did not know that I wanted to be in politics until he told me, as I worked for him for a year in Lansing, he said, you can go back on Waterman or you can run for office. So which one are you going to do? And I know, Joey, you can imagine him saying that. And so I ran, and I haven't looked back in 30-some years, since 1986. Wow. But Mr. McNeely was a force to be reckoned with. He was the insurance committee chair, and he ran for speaker, and he decided that he was not going to have the votes, so instead of being beaten, he chose to be just the Speaker Pro Tem for quite a few years. And he lived on Bassett Street in Southwest Detroit. I'm losing my voice. And I just think that maybe next year I would like to, perhaps whoever's doing it, I'd like to give a little back history on him, so that way we could all get to know somebody who was right from our area too. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that. Appreciate that. Any additional remarks by members? I have just a couple. I want to go around and say the names of the people that we have around the room on the columns today. William Lucas, Richard Austin, Benjamin Pelham, Wade McCree, Jewel Ware, David Stracker, William Patrick, John Wilson, William Woods, and Francis Warren. They're all around the audience today, so please, as I stated earlier, if you get a chance to go by and read the remarkable accomplishments of these great African Americans here in Wayne County. Second, I'd like to acknowledge that our very own Martha G. Scott will be getting an award this weekend by the International Institute of Metro Detroit. Congratulations, Commissioner Scott, well-deserved award. Let's give her a hand again. And a little young lady that I've known all of my life, Etna Bell, will be getting an award tomorrow from the Ford African American Network. They have an African American program. These are the African American employees of Ford Motor Company, and that is tomorrow, and she's one of their honorees for her lifelong achievement. So I want to congratulate her for that as well. Mother. With that said, I think we've had a wonderful meeting today. I would like to ask, before we adjourn, the students, if you could stay where you are. I want to take a picture with you all and your drums, so stay where you are. And at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you. You see my kids, they back there. I want to take a picture. I don't know if y'all are. Here you go, Tim. You know that's where it's going.
Cool.